Norwegian people say it's involved in running asylum centers in Norway, and asylum integration is one of 4 important topics for us. And I totally agree with what Atelier said, and I will try to say something different. So it's not going to be the same speech, though. First, I would like to start with just a few words about how we view the situation. First, on maybe a little bit more European, international level, and we can see the tension between the need for nations to have control over the borders, control over which people are entering the country, and so on, as conflict to the accessibility these same nations are entitled to do in front of the Asylum Convention. So at the same time they are entitled to give these people protection because they have signed the Asylum Convention, but at the same time they have a need for controlling their own borders. And this has changed, and this is important. When we walk around and talk about these issues, this has changed quite a bit, because if you see in the 70s, actually Norway sent ships to the China Ocean to pick up refugees from Vietnam. So we made our asylum institute accessible for refugees who are in need of protection. We did the same in Chile in relation to the Pinochet. When Allende was thrown out of office, we gave the dissidents from the Allende regime accessibility to have protection in Norway. While these days we talk about the Asylum Institute and the need to protect the Asylum Institute, in some way or another we talk about protecting the Asylum Institute from the asylum seekers. We try to prevent them the accessibility they are entitled to receive through the Asylum Institute by, for example, financing patrols in the Middle Ocean, the border towards Greece, Turkey, towards North Africa, through Italy, the Sea Hawk program in Spain, to prevent asylum seekers to enter into the beaches of the Canary Islands. So we have seen a great change in how both the politicians and the society understand the need of protection for refugees. And I think it's important to have that in mind when we talk about these issues, because it hasn't always been like that. In just 20, 30 years ago, we were proud to receive refugees coming to Norway, while these days we do everything we can to avoid them to enter our land. We also see that view, unfortunately, when it comes to several of the institutions which are relevant for giving protection, providing services for asylum centers being in Norway. For example, our own asylum centers. The centers are in itself a part of the immigration policy. The housing and the building in itself, how many people are working there and so on, are reflecting a vision from our authorities that says that if you come to Norway, this will be what you get. So don't come to Norway because our reception centers is that bad. Even the former government, led by the Norwegian political party Høyre, did TV advertisements in the Russian TV, giving films about probably the worst asylum centers in Norway ever, say that this is what you get if you try to get to Norway. We will say that when it comes to the situation in Norway and the services provided for asylum seekers, it's very important to think in the measures of changing the way we run these places into more think about integration. Because now we kind of waste 2 years of most of the asylum seekers' starting point in Norway, saying to them that the best thing you can do is to sit in your room, don't work, don't try to get your own flat, don't try to get yourself educated, just sit there and wait for a formal decision from the Norwegian government what's going to happen to you. We think that's a false strategy, both in terms of a good integration policy, because I think these 2 years could be used for something very important, to learn Norwegian, to learn a job and so on, but also in terms of having a good return policy, because to marginalize people, to have people sitting, not doing anything, on the about 130 different asylum centers in Norway, is a policy that don't work. People will not return home in dignity when we take away all their dignity while staying in Norway. So that's just the first thing I would say, because this is the tension between the control on one hand and the accessibility to the Asylum Institute, and the same thing, the need for control and the tension towards the integration policy is a very important field to understand how this policy is set up in Norway. So I totally agree that this is a political field. It's a very important political field. Of course, some of the politicians try to avoid it from being a political field. It would be easiest for them if this was mathematics. Say that this is a person coming from this and this country, he has this story. Okay, he is entitled for protection in Norway. But the situation is rather the opposite. If only 2-3 persons come from an area, a nation, or a geographical area within a nation to Norway, they will probably get protection. But if suddenly 50, 100, 200 comes from the same area, the definition of protection is suddenly stretched a lot. And that's something you have seen a lot when it comes to the Palestinians. Yeah? I mean, before 2009, about 70-80% received protection in Norway. Now it's like 20-30%. We have an office in Gaza as the only Norwegian organization being present in Gaza. We know the situation hasn't been better. So why have they changed the policy? Because of the need for control. The need for kind of protecting the asylum institutes towards a Norwegian population, not towards the refugees. So how do we do it? What's our strategy to try to influence this policy? We do it in 3 ways, we can say. First, to be involved in the field. We need to know what's going on. So therefore, it's one of the reasons why we run the reception centers. We are in this business to improve the system. We want better reception centers. Therefore, also, we are in for running the reception centers. And we try to push forward a better policy, a better, rammer, for the reception centers. And we have used quite a lot of time in something called a Norwegian offentlig utredning, led by Gunnar Berge, who's a former leader second leader in the Labour Party, which has a lot of great suggestions for a new way of running the asylum centers in Norway. And this is something that's going to be decided probably maybe this June or probably in the autumn. I don't know. It depends on how much the Ministry of Justice are able to do in the first of it for the one called Barn på flukt. Yeah. So we try to be involved. We also are setting up a program for legal guardians for unaccompanied minors coming to Norway. So we try to be involved to get experience, to be able to have a strong political influence. And also we try to do as much as we can when it comes to organizational development. Ali, sitting in the back, and me, this weekend, We're together with 200 members of MPA, many of them in great, how do you say, enthusiastic. They have a lot of power to changing this policy in their local communities. So we try to develop and build up groups all over Norway. So far it's like 30 groups working with asylum and integration issues all over Norway, and we have a vision and we have a goal to get that larger, because we think the best way to do political influence is to do that where people actually live. And the third thing, which is something we do often together with Atelier who we know us, is of course to try to influence the politicians, both sitting in the parliament, in the different political parties. We send them things. We invite them out to our reception centers. We invite them for meetings. We try them to invite them to our offices abroad. We have like an office. We have an office, for example, in Gaza, which I told you, in Addis Ababa. We have one in Sulaymaniyah in Iraq, to explain the situation and why these people actually are, some of the people at least, are in need of international protection. I think I stop there. Okay, thank you.